Hey everyone, it is Dani and welcome to this update video on the tropics. And in this video, we will be talking about what is currently happening across the North Atlantic, as well as the possibility for us to see development in the Caribbean. And so before I go into details, please do subscribe and tap the notification bell so that you never miss an important update. And to show your support for the channel, you can leave a like on this video. Alright, and so let us go ahead and kickstart things with a current satellite view of the region. And we're seeing here that there is quite a bit of activity that is noted. So there are 3 tropical waves that are making their way across the region. We have 2 that are out in the main development region. One is approaching the Lesser Antilles and could be a cause for concern in terms of that possible development in the Caribbean within the next several days. And then let's go ahead and actually take a look at the outlook map from the National Hurricane Center. So we're seeing here that there are 2 highlighted areas, and this one is actually Invest 94L that is in the vicinity of Bermuda at this time. And it was given a higher chance to develop. However, time is running out for it because it is not really getting itself together, and unfavorable conditions will be increasing, which would inhibit any further development that would take place of the system. And so as of right now, that chance is at 60%. And so now let's go ahead and talk about this other disturbance. And so we're seeing here that we don't see an X to show the location of that low pressure area, and that's because it hasn't yet formed. However, it is expected as we're going to be heading into the next several days. So an airflow pressure could develop within the region that is highlighted, and we could possibly see some development. But as of now, that chance is at 30%. However, if the possibility is going to be persistent that we might have development and conditions are conducive enough to allow for that to happen, then the chance is going to gradually increase. But as of now, a 30% chance that we could see some development there. And so guys, now let's go ahead and talk about what is expected across the Caribbean. So first, let's actually take a look at a satellite view of the basin, and there is a tropical wave across the central Caribbean right now, inducing a bit of activity there, and another tropical wave is approaching the Lesser Antilles, and we're seeing so much activity in association with it. And when all that activity drifts into the Caribbean, that is when we could see something try to get itself together within the region. So let's go ahead and now take a look at what the various models are expecting, and we're going to be starting out with the GFS. All right, and so this is a map showing the isobars, and the isobars are the black lines, and when they're in a circular manner with the pressure being at least 10-13 millibars or lower, that can be indicating a tropical cyclone. And so the greens, these colors here, really just depict precipitation rate. And so let's see what the model is expecting. And so there we have GFS showing all that moisture getting pulled up and something developing in the vicinity of where it's currently highlighted by the NHC. But take a look in the Southeast Caribbean. Something is also developing within the region there, and likely as a result of that tropical wave wild is going to be making its way into the area. And so GFS is being very bullish with this system here, because here it is showing a major hurricane, Cat 5 intensity, as a matter of fact, moving over Jamaica, crossing over Cuba. It's absolutely insane. Not saying that it is completely impossible, but at this time that seems quite unlikely. A Category 5 hurricane would need the exact conducive conditions in order to brew, and we're going to be looking at conditions later down in this video. But GFS has been quite consistent about development, but the model has also been consistent about a major hurricane within the region. So take this with a grain of salt. We don't have to see this being the actual outcome. And in terms of the simulated satellite imagery here, we see the model showing all that development as we're going to be heading into the next couple of days, as we're going to be heading to Thursday, going to Friday, and Saturday. There we see that system spin up in the vicinity of the Windward Islands. But regardless, there are quite a bit of unstable conditions right now across the across portions of the Eastern Caribbean, and then that tropical wave is going to be approaching. So if you're in portions of the Lesser Antilles, you are likely going to be experiencing a lot of increased precipitation. All of the Windward and Leeward Islands, inclusive of other areas such as the ABC Islands, as well as Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados. So you guys can look out for quite a bit of increased rainfall as you're going to be heading throughout the rest of this week. And so let's go ahead and now take a look at what other models are showing. Let's go on to the Euro. And so we're seeing here that the model is not really expecting anything developing in the Caribbean, but there it is showing that low pressure area trying to get itself together, which is currently highlighted by the NHC. So as I said, Euro is not really showing anything developing in the Caribbean. We do see that low pressure area, but those isobars are not coming together. We're not seeing any hints of an actual tropical cyclone developing. So Euro hasn't really been expecting anything of the sort in the region. As for the CMC model, CMC is showing something quite interesting here. So they are expecting development of that highlighted area by the NHC, but as that wave would be making its way across the Caribbean, we see that it gets itself together. It makes its way south of Jamaica and continues into the northwestern portion of the region while intensifying significantly. And again, this is not impossible, but the conducive conditions are needed for us to see something of the sort, for us to see a major hurricane really develop in the area. And then finally, we're looking at the ICON model, and ICON is showing some hints of that possible Caribbean system, but we're not really seeing an actual tropical cyclone just yet. We see all that activity, we see that low pressure area, but not really seeing an actual system developing up to the point where the ICON run stops. And so guys, only time will tell what is going to be happening, and as a matter of fact, an area is not even marked at this time by the National Hurricane Center in the Caribbean. That tropical wave out there is not highlighted for possible development at this point, but of course there can be many changes, and we definitely have to keep our eyes out there, because I mean, it is not impossible for us to see a storm in the Caribbean in the month of November. I mean, back in 2020 there were two major hurricanes in the Caribbean, which were Eta and Iota, and they were both category 4 hurricanes. So it certainly isn't impossible, but again, those conducive conditions are needed. And let's go ahead and take a look at current conditions across the region. So starting out with wind shear, and the red indicates unfavorable wind shear, the yellow means neutral, the green means favorable, and that unfavorable shear is quite dominant across the region. So if we're going to be having that possible development, then we're going to need to see some of those green lines, which is indicating the favorable wind shear, extended across portions of the southeastern Caribbean, because without conducive shear, then it is unlikely that we see something major within the region. And then in terms of the moisture content now, so this is a water vapor loop, and the yellows indicate dry air. So we are seeing that we have these whites and greens being seen across sections of the central and eastern Caribbean, and that is because of all of the unstable weather there. All that instability is resulting in all of that moisture. And so a moist environment is something that tropical cyclones or developing tropical cyclones need, because of course all that dry air really helps to inhibit shower and thunderstorm development. And then in terms of sea surface temperatures, of course, sea surface temperatures across the Caribbean are still warm, although the rest of the North Atlantic is cooling. I mean, we're talking about the tropics here, so we're not going to be seeing any major changes. But of course, the other factors that contribute to tropical cyclone development have to be favorable for us to actually see something out there. And so guys, I'm going to be keeping you updated as time goes by. So no need for worries at this point in time. Again, we don't even have an area being highlighted right now, but of course within the coming days we could see that area being highlighted across the Caribbean, where we could possibly see some development, but as of right now there is nothing there. And if you're in portions of the Lesser Antilles, especially the Windward Islands, for now you just have to be expecting increased rainfall, and as a matter of fact, extensive periods of heavy rainfall can result in flash flooding across flood prone areas. So please be aware of that and take all the necessary precautions and stay safe. And I will be keeping you guys updated. So that is it for right now, and if you have any questions, you can leave them down in the comments, and you can also share your thoughts there. And of course, remember to always be weatherwise.